on, saying that they will not allow the monies to be reduced. And most of them were calling on their counterparts who will be in the mediation team not to allow for the monies to be reduced. So debate on this bill took place on the floor of the House extensively, and the debate will this afternoon be resuming, with members going into division on the second reading of this particular bill. Pass on to House standing orders. Standing order number 53, paragraph 1, where members of the Senate seek statements from standing committees. Various members this afternoon will be seeking statements from various committees pursuant to that standing order. The Honorable Senator for Kakamega County, Dr. Boni Halwale, will be seeking a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding medical negligence at Vihiga County Referral Hospital. The Honorable Senator for Bungoma County, Senator David Wakoli, also will be seeking a statement from the Standing Committee on Education, and this one is with regards to delayed disbursement of capitation funds to technical and vocational education training, commonly referred to as TVET institutions. The Honorable David Wakoli also will be seeking a statement from the Standing Committee on Trade, Industrialization and Tourism. This is regarding the management of Kitinda Dairy Farmers Cooperative Society in his county that he represents, that is the Bungoma County. The Honorable Senator for Vihiga County, Senator Godfrey Osotsi, will also be seeking a statement from the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations concerning the status of implementation of the County Aggregation and Industrial Parks project across the counties. The Honorable Senator will be seeking a statement concerning the status of implementation of the County Aggregation and Industrial Parks project across the counties. The Senator for Nandi, Honorable Samson Cherargei, will this afternoon also seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries regarding the reduction of tea bonus in certain tea growing areas in the country. The reduction of tea bonus in certain tea growing areas in Kenya. And also nominated Senator Honorable Gloria Oroba also has a statement that she will be seeking from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare, and this is with regards to the provision of conducive lactating rooms in workplaces for breastfeeding mothers. These are statements that the honorable members pursuant to the House Standing Order 53, paragraph 1, will be seeking statements to various standing committees for responses with regards to the issues that they have raised on the matters affecting various areas, whether concerns from the counties or concerns that cut across various sectors in the country. Now, pursuant to Standing Order 56, paragraph 1, subparagraph A, the chairperson, Standing Committee on Finance and Budget, will make a statement regarding the status of the Equalization Fund. The status of the Equalization Fund. Also this afternoon, once the House commences its business, the various chairpersons of standing committees will be making statements relating to the activities of the committee for the period between April to August, the year 2024. This is to inform the House on the activities that have been undertaken by the committee. That is the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Jeffa Kingi. He's just made his way into the chamber. He'll be presiding over this afternoon sitting. Allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast. Good afternoon.
Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, twakusihi ututazame kwa neema nyingi na baraka. Sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuitwa kwa nyadhifa za uongozi katika jamhuri hii yetu. Twakuomba utuajalie tuyatende na kufikia mambo yote atakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Clerk, do we have quorum? Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
The prayer has been said and the chair has been taken. However, the House has not quorated yet for the business of the House to commence. And that is what has necessitated that particular quorum bell as directed by the Speaker. This is a bell that will be on for 10 minutes. As per the House Standing Order, of course, to give room for the members who may be within the precincts of Parliament but have not yet gotten to the chambers to be able to do right that or just that, and allow the House or enable the House achieve that required quorum for the House to commence its business. Back to what the members of the Senate will this afternoon be transacting. There are bills that will be considered at the committee over the whole House stage. These are bills that a debate was concluded on at the second reading stage, and they were read for, or they went through the second reading stage, and now have been committed to the committee of the whole, that is Honorable Beatrice Ogola. The Honorable nominated Senator has a bill, or is sponsoring a bill on the maternal, newborn and child health bill, bill number 17 of 2023. And this is one of the bills that this afternoon will be considered at the committee of the whole. The maternal, newborn and child health bill is a bill that seeks to propose a legal framework that can facilitate and enhance the delivery of quality maternal, newborn and child health services, provide a platform for raising the profile and agenda for maternal, newborn and child health services, provide a framework for formal engagement, cooperation and promotion of coordinated approach to service delivery of maternal, newborn and child health services in the country, also provide a platform of engagements between the national and county governments, and to enhance accountability and sound funding strategy for maternal, newborn and child health services. This is a bill that the committee of the whole house stage. There are amendments that various members will be moving, and of course it is at the committee of the whole house stage that it will be considered. Remember, the currently is the quorum bell. Once the quorum is achieved, 15 members are needed to be inside the chambers for the house to commence its business. So the quorum bell is to enable the house achieve that requisite number. That is the Majority Chief Whip, Honorable Boni Halwale, at the entrance of the chamber. And of course, once the quorum is achieved, we will hand you over to the proceedings of the house. But until then, we shall continue looking at what the members will be looking at in this afternoon sitting. This afternoon also, members will resume a debate on the Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill. This is a bill that is originating from the Senate, a bill that is sponsored by the Honorable nominated Senator Mariam Sheikh Omar, a bill that is at its second reading stage, and its debate already started on the floor of the House. You will recall that on the Wednesday of 25th September, the year 2024, that is yesterday in the afternoon sitting, the members began debate on this particular bill, and this afternoon the bill will resume, or the debate on this bill will resume once the House achieves that requisite number for the House to be able to commence its business. Remember, if the numbers are not achieved, all right, allow me to...
Senators, we do have quorum now. Kindly take your seats. Clerk, you may proceed to call the first order, please.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Senator Folamu. Honorable Senators, I'd like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon of a visiting delegation from the County Assembly of Makueni, comprising members of the Committee on County Public Investment and Special Funds Account and its Secretariat. The delegation is undertaking a benchmarking visit in the Senate. I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. The Honorable Brian Kello Nzoka, the chairperson. The Honorable Jonathan Muoki Moniki, vice chairperson. The Honorable Wakatete Kisungi Mulinge, a member. The Honorable Meshak Kalin Dambuki. The Honorable Jackson Ndolo Kimunyi. The Honorable Janet Mwikali Kitunga. The Honorable Magdalene Duku Mulwa. The Honorable Jacqueline Muthini Kamula. Mr. George Maseka Mutuku. Mr. Chris Mutava. Mr. Japheth Ndambuki. Mr. Benedict Mutua. And Mr. Stephen Nyamasio. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation, and on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Likewise, I have another communication to make. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon of a visiting delegation from the Bureau of the African Network Parliamentarians on Climate Change and its Secretariat. The delegation is undertaking a benchmarking visit in the Senate. I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. The Honorable Carlo Emily, Member of Parliament, Cote d'Ivoire, and Chairman of ANPCC. I didn't want to pronounce the first name because I will never do justice. The Honorable Mapoko Nene, MP, Member of Parliament from the Democratic Republic of Congo and Vice Chairperson of ANPCC. The Honorable Jacqueline Amongini, MP, Member of Parliament from Uganda and Secretary General of ANPCC. The Honorable Clifford Andre, MP, Member of Parliament from Seychelles and Deputy Secretary General ANPCC. The Honorable Mayik Deng, MP, Member of Parliament, South Sudan, and a member of the Bureau. Honorable Selo Hakane, MP, Member of Parliament from the Republic of Lesotho, and a member of the Bureau. Honorable Adamu Saba, MP, Member of Parliament from Nigeria, and a member of the Bureau. Honorable Ngwala Antony, MP, Member of Parliament from Congo, and a member of the Bureau. Honorable Isamado Jaber, MP, Member of Parliament from the Republic of Chad, and a member of the Bureau. The Honorable Aissata Kamara, MP, Member of Parliament from the Republic of Guinea, and a member of the Bureau. Mr. Sylvester Kaonga, Parliamentary Staff, Parliament of Zambia. Mr. Emmanuel Sebastian, Sound Technician. Mr. Kenneth Kuria, Sound Technician. Ms. Caroline Oyugi, Language Interpreter. Mr. Vincent Nyatuka, Language Interpreter. Mr. Abraham Kamratatsi, Staff of the African Group Negotiators Experts Support Group, into brackets, Agnes. Mr. Leon Mulama, Staff of Agnes. Mr. Festus Langat, Staff of Agnes. Mr. Shadrach Arum, Staff of Agnes, and Ms. Christine Mora, Staff of Agnes. Honorable Senators, the Agnes I'm talking about here is African Group of Negotiators Expert Support. So, honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation, and on behalf of the Senate, on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Minority Leader, Senator Kajwang, Senator Boni. I wish you in the chamber, I could have thrown you out, but still out of the chamber. So Senator Boni and Senator Tabitha, the four senators, to extend a word of welcome on behalf of the two delegations. And thereafter, the Senator for Makueni will wrap it up. So it will be Senator Mazayo, followed by Senator Boni, followed by Senator Tabitha, then Senator Manzo, and lastly, the chair, Senator Methu, whose docket handles matters climate change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to make
Order, honorable senators. Can the minority leader be heard in silence, please?
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, tuko na wageni kutoka nchi mbalimbali katika bara letu la Afrika. Kuna watu kutoka pande za nchi ambazo zinaongea Kiingereza na kuna wengine wanaongea Kifaransa na pengine Kiswahili kwa upande wa watu wa Congo Brazzaville. Bwana Spika, kwa kujumlisha nafikiria ingekuwa bora uniruhusu niongee kwa lugha ya Kiswahili. Bwana Spika, kwanza nataka kujiunga na wewe kwa kuwakaribisha hawa wageni wetu wale kwanza kutoka Makueni wa ndugu yangu Maanzo na vile vile wale kutoka katika bara la Afrika katika ile kamati yao ya tabia nchi. Bwana Spika, tunaona ya kwamba Afrika sasa inakuwa kitu kimoja na ni umuhimu kuona ya kwamba tunalinda mazingira yetu na vile vile tunataka kuwaunga mkono kwa safari yao ya kuchukua kutoka nchi zile mbalimbali wanazotoka kutoka Afrika. Wamekuja hapa kujionea bunge letu la Senate linafanya kazi kinamna gani, na na matumaini ya kwamba wakati wakirudi nyumbani wataona bunge la Kenya la Senate linafanya kazi kinamna gani. Vile vile ndugu zetu kutoka Makueni, karibuni sana. Sisi tunawakaribisha hapa katika bunge la Senate. Muko na mbunge wenu ndugu yangu Daniel Maanzo. Hapa mulipiga ndipo, hamukukosea. Nataka kuambia ikiwa itawezekana tena basi mumregeshe huyu Daniel Maanzo. La mwisho Bwana Spika, nataka kuambia hawa ndugu zetu wametoka katika bara zima la Afrika kule ni kwamba karibuni sana katika nyumba yetu hii ya Senate, na ninajua mkifika huko nyumbani mtaweza kuwaelekeza ama kuwajulisha wale ndugu zetu kazi ya Senate katika Kenya mmeiona ni namna gani. Na pia vile vile karibuni. Kenya ni nchi iko huru, mnaweza kuzunguka mpaka saa 10 saa 9, kuna hali kwingi kwa kwenda hapa Nairobi. Kwa hiyo Nairobi ni kwenu, najifikieni kabisa kwamba mkiwa Kenya ni kama mmetoka kule nyumbani katika nchi tofauti tofauti za Afrika. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Bone. And honorable senators, keep it under 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I would like to request the delegation from Makueni to go and deliver our greetings to the governor of Makueni, who has been a colleague of ours in this house for a long time, and do remind him that the highest standard he left is still being maintained by Senator Maanzo. And Makueni is a unique place in Parliament because that is the place where we had Senator Mutula Kilonzo Sr., one of the most polished leaders of the Republic of Kenya. Finally, Mr. Speaker, our visitors from Africa, you're most welcome. And Mr. Speaker, allow me to use this opportunity to request the parliamentarians of West Africa, the western part of Africa, you must come together to ensure that the fighting in Congo comes to an end. It is over 70 years, Mr. Speaker, when Patrice Lumumba died because of the rich gold and mineral deposits in DRC. It cannot continue forever. In fact, the member of parliament from DRC, when you go back, send my greetings to my cousins there. The people in Eastern Congo are the same ones who are in the western part of Kenya, and that's why there is respect for the Congo forest and there is respect for the Kakamega forest, the only existing tropical forest on the continent of Africa. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I join you and the House to welcome the delegation from the Africa Parliamentarians Network on Climate Change as well as the delegation from Makueni. Mr. Speaker, allow me also to take this opportunity to wish you a happy birthday. It is not... I know there are some old men who don't know their dates of birth, and so they like Senator Bass, so he's not very amused. Mr. Speaker, as we welcome the delegation, I also want to thank you for creating time. I know at 4 o'clock you'll be having a conversation with the honorable members of parliament. I want to thank you that in the last September, when Kenya hosted the African Climate Summit, this parliament brought together members of parliament from 28 African countries, and the meeting was held under your direction and patronage. Today, we have members of parliament from 12 African nations who have come here to strategize on how members of parliament can be players in the climate change conversation. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency William Ruto, was hosting African heads of state in New York in his capacity as a chair of the Heads of State Climate Change Committee. And so Kenya has always provided leadership on climate change matters, and I know at the right time you'll allow me to make a substantive statement on the reason why the members of parliament are here. Mr. Speaker, I join you in welcoming them so that I do not waste a lot of time. And if you may have noticed that the member from Guinea drew the loudest applause, especially from Senator Madzayo. Senator Madzayo also reminds me that now that I have the floor, and we have 12 African countries in the speaker's gallery, that it would be proper to ask for their support for a Raila Odinga chairmanship of the African Union. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and welcome, honorable members.
Senator Manzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I take the opportunity to welcome the delegation from Makueni County Assembly and also the members of parliament from various countries of Africa. And Mr. Speaker, I want to wish them well here in Kenya, welcome them and tell them we are doing very well when it comes to matters dealing with climate change. And I'm sure during your stay here, you are going to learn a lot more. I have been to quite a number of countries where they come from, like the Congo, where I usually represent this house in the prayer breakfast, and want to wish all African countries a good stay here in Kenya, and we hope to interact more so that we may share more in relation to climate change. And similar to the team from Makueni, that we want you to send you home with greetings to the people of Makueni, and I hope you have learned a lot from the Honorable Kajwang, whose committee is hosting you, and the other members of parliament on how best to check the executive in Makueni. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Tabitha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I also take the opportunity to welcome the Makueni, our own Makueni MCAs, and to continue to congratulate them and to continue urging them to continue doing the good job that you're doing, to ensure that you play the mandate that you've been given by the people of Makueni, so that you don't give a hard job to the Makueni senator on the money that he pushes to ensure that it comes to Makueni. You ensure that it does the work, the governor does the work that is meant to do for the benefit of the Makueni people. And then I take also opportunity to welcome the African group of negotiators, of experts, support, and African Union Development Agency, and to welcome them to Kenya and to feel at home. And Africa is our business, and wherever we are, work hard to ensure that we make Africa better than how we found it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Meth.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I also want to start by wishing you a happy birthday. I always don't remember mine, but mine is on a very special day. I was born on Valentine's of 1991. I want to welcome the members of County Assembly and staff from Makueni County Assembly who are here. I also want to very quickly also welcome the members of parliament from the 12 nations that are the Speaker's gallery. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to reiterate the position that I've mentioned in the past and has been mentioned by the Chair of the caucus, Honorable Speaker, that parliaments are not are major players in the space of climate change, Honorable Speaker, because in terms of budgetary allocations, in terms of preparing our budgets, it is always a preserve of parliaments in almost all our democracies, Honorable Speaker. It is for this reason, Honorable Speaker, that we then must ensure that we learn from each other, get to do exchange program between countries, Honorable Speaker, the 12 countries that are here, the members of parliament from Kenya, Honorable Speaker, so that we get to know what is in Malawi that we can borrow, what is in Congo that we can borrow, what is in the other country that we can borrow. Finally, Honorable Speaker, allow me to appreciate the African Group of Negotiators Expert Support, Agnes, Honorable Speaker, for being in the forefront of ensuring that they build the capacity of members of parliament, Honorable Speaker, so that even as we speak about the space that we are speaking about of climate change, Honorable Speaker, our members are well equipped with the information that they require, so that going forward, it is not a question of something that comes at the tail end of the conversations. It is something that be at the meat, at the center of all the conversations that we shall be having as a people, as a country, as a continent, Honorable Speaker. I thank you.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
The Senate Majority Leader. Senate Majority Leader. Yes, sir. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, Thursday, the 26th of September, 2024. These are the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the following hospitals for the year ended 30th June 2023. Marsabit Level 5 Referral Hospital, County Government of Marsabit. Kalacha Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Marsabit. Msambweni County Referral Hospital, County Government of Kwale. Lungalunga Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kwale. Samburu County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kwale. Kinango Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kwale. Marafa Sub-County Referral Hospital, County Government of Kilifi. Mtwapa Sub-County Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Kilifi. Otoro Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Homa Bay. Rachuonyo County Hospital, County Government of Homa Bay. Rangwe Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Homa Bay. Nanyuki Teaching and Referral Hospital, County Government of Laikipia. Nyahururu County Referral Hospital, County Government of Laikipia. Nakuru County Teaching and Referral Hospital, County Government of Nakuru. Soin Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Nakuru. Annex Hospital, Nakuru Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Nakuru. Gilgil Sub-County Hospital, County Government of Nakuru. Olenguruoni Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Nakuru. Molo Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Nakuru. Njoro Level 4 Hospital, County Government of Nakuru. Miriugi Karaoke Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Nakuru. Elbagon Level 4 in Nakuru as well. Mukurweni Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Nyeri. Othaya Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Nyeri. Karatina Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Nyeri. Mount Kenya Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Nyeri. Kiambu Level 5 Hospital in Kiambu County. Igegania Level 4 Hospital in Kiambu County. Ruiru Level 4 Hospital in Kiambu County. Obakamoth Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in Kisumu. Chulaimbo Level 4 Hospital in County Government of Kisumu. Ojola Sub-County Level 4 Hospital in the County Government of Kisumu. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay. Thank you.
Chairman, Finance and Budget. We proceed to lay your report.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, Thursday, the 26th of September, 2024. Report of the joint sitting of the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning and the Senate Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the approval hearing for Mr. David Kibet Kimei, nominee for the appointment of the position of Director General of the Competition Authority of Kenya. I beg to lay.
Honorable Senators, before I call the next order, I have this further communication to make. Honorable Senators, in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon is Ms. Esembeyu Akida, a guest of the Speaker of the Senate. Ms. Akida is a celebrated footballer and among a generation of Kenyans who have brought immense honor and pride to the Republic through her exceptional talent in sports. Honorable Senators, Ms. Akida's footballing talent was nurtured from a tender age while schooling back in Kilifi County, notably through the Moving the Goalpost initiative that has used sports to positively transform lives of young girls across our country. Kenyans recall with great fondness and national pride Akida's great display in the African Women's Cup of Nations, where she scored the first goal for Harambee Starlets, entering history books as the first Kenyan to do so. This exceptional exploit not only proclaimed her arrival in the world football scene, but also went on to open great opportunities for her in the ranks of professional football. Honorable Senators, for the past 3 years, SA has been plying her trade at Club Park in Greece, taking part in one of Europe's top women football leagues and rubbing shoulders with the world's best women footballers. She had previously played for Ramal Hasharon in Israel and Besiktas of Turkey and Club Park from Greece. Here at home, the contributions of Akida's generation of women footballers is what laid the solid foundation for the historic achievement of the prolific under-19 Harambee Starlets team, which recently qualified for the World Cup competition for this category of women footballers to be held later next month in Dominican Republic. Ms. Akida's exploits go beyond football. Back home in Kilifi County, she has carved a niche for herself through exceptional philanthropic work and distinguished community service through the SA Akida Foundation that she founded and runs through her personal resources, which has played a pivotal role in giving hope to many girls, especially those from humble backgrounds. I must point out that years back, during my tenure as governor of Kilifi County, we celebrated Ms. Akida as one of the heroines for her outstanding philanthropy, which has empowered girls, sharpening their resolve to shatter the glass ceiling in their respective career paths. I congratulate Ms. Akida for taking time to document her eventful journey in life in a new book titled Chained, in which she reflects on the challenges she went through and how she triumphed. Her book provides girls growing under similar circumstances with insights and inspiration to use their talents to create and exploit opportunities that come their way in life. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to Esembeyu Akida, and on behalf of the Senate, on my own behalf, wish her a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator for Kilifi and the Senate Majority Leader under 1 minute to extend a word of welcome. Yes, Senator for Kakamega.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of procedure to draw your attention to Standing Order number 29, namely visiting dignitaries. Mr. Speaker, what you have read about this young woman distinguishes her from many women in this country. Mr. Speaker, I wish it had come to my attention earlier. I would have requested that she be allowed to be treated in the same manner that we treat under this standing order on visiting dignitaries, so that he should be in the right seat, so that it serves as an example to the youth of this country, especially my daughters, since it's just one of them. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I don't know what you rule, but she deserves it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Bonnie. That time will come, but for today, she came to visit me. So she's here as a visitor of the Speaker.
Asante, Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, kwanza nataka nijiunge na wewe kwa kumkaribisha huu dada ama mtoto wetu wa kutoka Kilifi, lakini yeye ni Mkenya. Ni Mkenya kwa sababu anatoka katika nchi yetu na amefanya mengi ambayo ni maajabu katika Kenya. Bwana Spika, kitu kwanza nataka kutoa kongole kubwa sana kwa huyu msichana anaitwa Akida kutoka sehemu ya Kilifi, kwa sababu ameweza kuvunja ngome nyingi sana ambazo ni za pingamizi katika taaluma ile ambayo yuko. Ni wakina mama wengi katika ulimwengu wanacheza mpira ama wanacheza kandanda ama ule mpira wa maguu, lakini Bwana Spika, unaweza kuona wengi watacheza lakini hawatafika kile kiwango. Na hivi ni kwamba huyu dada anaitwa Akida ni msichana ambaye amefanya bidii, amefanya juhudi, ameshughulika sana kufanya mazoezi na kuangalia taaluma mbalimbali za wale ambao wako mbele, na akajifundisha na hatimaye akaweza kufika kile kiwango cha kucheza kandanda ya kulipwa katika nyadhifa za juu nchi zetu za ng'ambo. Bwana Spika, pia vile vile nataka kumpatia kongole kwa sababu anachezea Harambee Stars. Na ni Yes. Asante. Bwana Spika, vile vile nataka kusema tu ya kwamba si rahisi kwa msichana mdogo kama huyu ambaye ameweza kujifanyia juhudi na ameweza kufika kile kiwango, lakini katika harakati zake zote hizo ameweza kupatana na mapingamizi mingi, na tunasoma katika vitabu. Ukiwa wewe ni mchezaji unaweza kuwa na pengine wale wanaokufundisha ama pengine wale ambao unawaona kama ni watu ambao wanaweza kukusaidia. Kumekuwa na changamoto nyingi katika maisha yake, lakini ameweza kuzivuka, na vile vile ameweza katika zile changamoto mingi ambazo amepitia ameweza kuandika kitabu. Kitabu kinasema ni kama alikuwa amefungwa katika ile minyororo, lakini sasa amejifungua. Kwa hiyo ni kwamba akiwa amejifungua katika ile minyororo anaweza kwenda, na tunasema yale mawingu yatakuwa ndio mwisho. Sio mwisho, anaweza kwenda akavuka mpaka yale mawingu. Tunasema unavuka yale mawingu unaingia katika ulimwengu mwingine wa kucheza kandanda. Kwa hiyo sisi tunamtakia kila laheri. Nataka kuambia dada zangu hapa ndani ya bunge na maseneta, hususan dadangu pale ambaye yeye anajihusisha sana na mambo ya kina mama. Nataka kusema kwamba nawaomba ikiwa itawezekana, kile kitabu ni muhimu sana kujua wale wasichana wetu wanaokuwa katika Kenya na zile nyadhifa wanazopitiza mbalimbali, vile mateso wanafika wanayapata, lakini wafanya juhudi mpaka mwisho mtu anafaulu. Kwa hiyo ameandika hicho kitabu, na nataka kuwauliza si dada zangu peke yake, hata hawa ndugu zangu, Cherargea akiwa kijana mdogo aweze kuwa mstari wa mbele kununua hicho kitabu. Kwa hiyo katika sisi maseneta tu hapa, vile vitabu, kile kitabu ambacho ameandika, mimi niko na copies, zile copies ziko na ni bei rahisi, mnaweza kuja kwa ofisi yangu, alafu mimi nitamwambia Cherargea awapatie kila mtu. Asanteni sana.
Senate Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I join you and the rest on behalf of all our colleagues to congratulate Ms. Essie Mbeyu Akida, who's joined us this afternoon. Though visiting you, I want to believe the visit has been extended to us as a house. In one, celebrating her achievements, especially in a sport that is greatly emerging, Mr. Speaker, over the years to be extremely competitive, but also gaining global recognition. Mr. Speaker, the women's football game has gained serious attraction to fans the last few years that perhaps in the next few years, Mr. Speaker, if you are not careful, it will actually become more popular than the men's sports. Mr. Speaker, Senator Catherine Muma reminds me, and she needs not remind me because I know that for a fact, that as we speak today in Kenya, the women's game is way ahead of the men's sport. Our girls are doing way better. Mr. Speaker, everybody is aware that our Harambee starlets are currently in Spain doing their pre-tournament preparation on their way to the Dominican Republic to play in the FIFA World Cup, Mr. Speaker. That's a feat that no other footballing team has achieved. Therefore, we must celebrate girls like Essie, who have pushed this sport, Mr. Speaker, to the levels that she has. We celebrate her also in her distinguished career, and I hope that she can inspire many girls, Mr. Speaker, in Kilifi, the coastal part of the country, Mr. Speaker, which is not traditionally known for producing many great footballers. I know Senator Faki will not be happy for me to say that, but I know that with girls like Essie doing what they are doing, that many young girls from that part of the country will be inspired and excel and do even far beyond what we are able to. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I hope that as a country we can continue to invest more in our sporting academies. You do realize that Essie nurtured her talents, Mr. Speaker, through this program, Moving the Goalpost, and many other programs that are seasonally run. Eventually, Mr. Speaker, until we are able to set up academies that can nurture young talents and grow them into serious professions, Mr. Speaker, we shall not enjoy many stars coming out of our country like Essie. Therefore, I celebrate her. The Senate looks forward, Mr. Speaker, to interacting with her and learning more from her. Mr. Speaker, I just want to make one final request. You know, the only other member the only other citizen actually within the precincts of Senate right now who's had the opportunity to represent Kenya at the international stage in a sporting event is none other than the Senator of Trans Nzoia. Senator Alan Chensang featured for the national team. I know this because I was in university with him at the time when he represented Kenya in the All-African Games. I'm not sure whether they were with AC at that time, but given that she had performed better than Senator Faki, Senator Kajwang, who runs once in a while in the day and at night, Mr. Speaker, why don't we allow Senator Chesang to celebrate a fellow icon who has done well? That's my humble request. Welcome, AC. I celebrate you.
Senator Hamida. Senator Hamida, then Senator Alan Chesang, and then Senator Oroba, and Senator Faki. We wrap it up at that.
Asante Bwana Spika. Na mimi pia nataka kuchukua nafasi hii kama upande wa mama wa Kewosa kuweza kujivunia mrembo wetu. Karibu sana na asante kwa kututembelea. Tumepata sifa zako na sisi tunasema kongole. Kongole kwa kupeperusha bendera ya Kenya. Tunakuombea mema na utuwakilishe vilivyo. Na pia tunakusifu sana kwa wewe kuja kushika wenzako mkono na wao pia kuwasaidia wafike mahali umefika. Sio watu wengi upenda kufanya hivyo ili wenzake wasiwafikie, lakini wewe tunakushukuru sana kwa kuweza pia kurudi nyumbani ili na wao pia wapate kile wewe umeweza kupata. Na tunakwambia pia ukiwa kule jivunie kuwa Mkenya. Tuwakilishe vilivyo na tunakuomba sifa yetu na sifa yako kama Mkenya na kama msichana uiweke mbele, usihadaishwe na wengine, na wewe mafikira yako yawe, malengo yako yawe mazuri, na usikubali kuhadaishwa kwa kitu chochote. Tunakusifu na asante sana kwa kututembelea. Shukran. Asante mwenyekiti.
Senator Alan Chesang.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise first and foremost to congratulate Esi Akida. Mr. Speaker, I'm a very proud senator in this House, Mr. Speaker. First, I happen to be one of the people who has been part of Esi's life, and I think her first flight to the All-African Games, she was seated next to me. That was in 2007 or 2000 All-African Games in Algeria. Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate her because I've seen her hard work in her sporting activity all the way through. I've seen her grow. I've seen her her efforts and her training in Kenya. And it's a very good example to this country, Mr. Speaker, that sport pays, Mr. Speaker. I have been following her wherever she goes, every team she's been in Kenya and overseas. Mr. Speaker, this is just an example, and she's a living proof that sports pay, and if the government puts more effort in this kind of sports, we are going to change many of our youths in this country. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd also like to again congratulate her for writing a book and being a person that many of our youths would look upon to. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to say thank you once again to her, and also maybe also appreciate my brother Aaron Cheriot for recognizing that we were in the same university together, Mr. Speaker. The University of Moi in Eldoret. Mr. Speaker, it's a privilege because most of the members here, they will not have anyone to say they were classmates or in the same university, Mr. Speaker. So let me just say thank you once again to Esi and congratulations. Keep striving, and we are always behind you, Esi. Thank you so much.
Senator Roba.
Thank you, Speaker. Congratulations, Ms. Akida. You know, I'm just peeping to see that it's really you because I follow you a lot online. Speaker, I want to congratulate this lady because, you know, Kilifi County is known for a lot of things, but it's also known for teenage pregnancies. And I know that, you know, when they look up to someone like Ms. Akida, they understand that there's hope, there are other things that we can do, and that girls can actually break that barrier. So, Ms. Akida, as you go back home, I want to urge you to hold the hands of those many girls. You know, in Kilifi County, 28.9% is the prevalence rate for teenage pregnancies. That's 4,000 girls every year who are actually, you know, being impregnated because for whatever reason, you know, we have sex for pads, we have what, but also there is this hopelessness that they can't be anything in life. So congratulations, and please hold the hands of many girls out there so that they can look up to you and you can change your community from that perspective. Thank you.
Senator Faki.
Mheshimiwa Spika, pia kunipa fursa hii kujiunga nawe kumpa kongole dada yetu Esi kwa kazi nzuri anayofanya. Mheshimiwa Spika, Esi ni mmoja wa wale wana michezo wetu ambao wameweza kubobea na wanacheza katika ligi za kimataifa. Mwingine akiwa ni Mwanahalima Adam Jereko ambaye anacheza Amerika hivi sasa. Mwanahalima ni msichana ambaye alilelewa pale Likoni mjini Mombasa. Kwa hivyo Aaron Cheriot, usifikiri kwamba haya mambo yanatokea Kilifi peke yake. Mombasa pia tunatengeneza mambo kama hayo. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimepata fursa kutembea mpaka ya Bamba kule katika kile kiwanja cha moving the goalpost. Na nafikiri ni mradi mzuri ambao kaunti zetu zote zinaweza kuiga. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna mswada hivi sasa wa Seneta Sefuna kuhusiana na kutengwa kwa asilimia fulani ya bajeti za kaunti kupromote kusaidia mambo ya michezo. Hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika ni njia ambayo itasaidia pakubwa kuweza kutoa wanatalanta wengi kama Esi ambao hawajapata fursa kama hizi ili waweze kusonga mbele katika talenti zao za michezo. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa kumalizia ni kwamba ni masikitiko hivi sasa Mheshimiwa Spika kwamba wakati wasichana wetu wanabobea katika mambo ya michezo, wanakwenda katika nchi za kimataifa kucheza ligi kubwa kubwa. Hivi hapa Kenya hivi sasa, Mheshimiwa Spika, hatuna kiwanja ambacho chaweza kuhost ama chaweza kuandaa mechi inayokubaliwa na FIFA. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni aibu kubwa. Sisi tunakwenda kucheza mechi zetu Uganda. Kama timu ya nyumbani tuenda cheza Uganda sisi, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa vile hatuna kiwanja cha kimataifa cha kuweza kusimamia ama kuandaa mechi za FIFA. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni changamoto ambayo imetolewa na dada yetu Esi kwa hapa leo, na kwa hivyo sisi kama maseneta lazima tuangalie ni njia gani ambazo zitasaidia kukuza michezo nchini kwetu. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Lastly, Senator Richard Onyonka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand here as somebody, first of all, who wants to give my accolades to you as the Speaker for having thought it wise that you would invite Her Excellency, the young lady who has actually made our country proud. Members in this Senate, I know we are all saying how wonderful she is. How I wish that we would be changing the rules on how we reward medals from this House and nationally for Kenyans who have excelled and have done well exceptionally. Mr. Speaker, I would hope that once you have gone back to Kilifi, of course, you know her personally now, you will actually enable her to continue. And most probably, I ask many of us to participate in a league with my friend Stuart Mazayo. We would actually, I wouldn't mind sending our young ladies from Kisii County, because there are football teams there, so that they can be going to Kilifi, they play, and then we can invite the other players from Kilifi or Kisii to attend. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to say that as Kenyan leaders, we have not treated our sportsmen, sportswomen, our musicians, our people who perform in theater, and people who perform in all the other sectors. I think we need to improve on that. I think we are all seized and we understand the importance, for the reason that right now everybody is a content creator. And what is very unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, is that every time our successful athletes go out to the world to perform, we never give them any accolade, we never congratulate, leave alone even rewarding them in a small way. I think this House should seize itself and make sure that we start making sure that we congratulate our African athletes, Kenyan athletes, and those ones who come from several areas. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the team from Makueni that has come here for benchmarking, and the team from the African Witnesses who are here. I think it's a great honor to see both sides coming and watching what we do in this House. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity.
Senator Beth Zengo, finalize that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Esi. And Mr. Speaker, I also congratulate you because she comes from your county. And my minority leader, Senator Mazayo, has nurtured and mentored the girl, and I really recognize this. Mr. Speaker, as the women president of ODM Women League, and by extension, broad-based, I want to speak on behalf of all the women and say that we need girls who are gifted and who are talented like her. And I would advise that let the parents give girls to participate in games, in education, in everything that a boy child does, a girl child can do better. I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ask that the book that she has written, that it gets out and gets to the hands of our young girls and even mature women, that we may read, we may be motivated, we may be encouraged, and also borrow a leaf from her. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Chairperson, Finance and Budget.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that the Senate adopts the report of the joint sitting of the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning and the Senate Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the approval hearing of Mr. David Kibet Kemei, nominee for the appointment for the position of Director General of the Competition Authority of Kenya.
Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
The Honorable Kajoan.
Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52.1 to make a statement on an issue of general topical concern regarding the pivotal role of parliaments in implementing both international and national climate change commitments in Africa. Mr. Speaker, between the 1st and 5th of September 2024, the National Assembly of Cote d'Ivoire, in partnership with the African Group of Negotiators for Expert Support, AGNES, and the African Union Development Agency, hosted a high-level meeting of parliamentarians in Abidjan. This meeting, held on the sidelines of the 12th Conference on Climate Change and Development in Africa and the 10th Special Session of the African Ministerial Conference on the Environment, brought together parliamentarians from across the continent, all of whom are members of the committees, commissions, and caucuses on environment, climate change, agriculture, and natural resources. The meeting, under the theme of strengthening the role of parliaments in the implementation of national and international commitments on climate change in Africa, aimed to build the capacity of parliamentarians to better understand their roles in addressing the escalating climate crisis. As part of the outcomes, a 12-member bureau was elected to guide the work of this network of parliamentarians. The meeting of the bureau is currently ongoing in Nairobi to organize their affairs and develop a comprehensive roadmap for their work. And Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for acknowledging the 12-member bureau that is in the Speaker's gallery. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is crucial to underscore the role of parliaments in the global and national climate governance frameworks. As elected representatives of the people, members of parliament are uniquely positioned to ensure that international climate commitments, such as those outlined in the Paris Agreement and Africa's nationally determined contributions, are translated into effective policies, actions, and laws at the national level. Our role as legislators is not simply to pass legislation, but to actively oversee its implementation and to ensure that climate action is integrated into all areas of governance, from agriculture and energy to health and infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, the meeting in Abidjan highlighted the need for parliamentary oversight as a cornerstone of effective climate governance. MPs have a responsibility to hold their governments accountable for meeting climate targets, tracking progress on NDCs, and ensuring that the necessary financial and technical resources are made available to support climate action. This requires us to be proactive in monitoring the policies and programs put in place to mitigate and adapt to the impacts of climate change and ensure that they're effective, equitable, and that they benefit the most vulnerable in our societies. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, Parliament must lead in the legislative process by enacting strong climate laws that establish clear frameworks for action, allocate appropriate budgets for climate initiatives, and set accountability mechanisms for implementation. During the discussions in Abidjan, it became evident that many African countries still lack comprehensive climate legislation. It is therefore incumbent upon us as parliamentarians to work collaboratively with our executive branches and other stakeholders to develop and pass the necessary legal frameworks that align with our international commitments and ensure national climate resilience. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to note and to report that Kenya in 2016 was the pioneering African country when we came up with the Climate Change Act, and only last year in September, this House was involved in amendments to the Climate Change Act to provide a framework for carbon markets and carbon trading, and that puts Kenya ahead of the rest of the countries in Africa. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Abidjan Declaration also emphasized the importance of carbon trading and climate finance as critical tools in Africa's climate response. African nations, many of which are rich in natural resources, must participate equitably in the global carbon market. As MPs, we must advocate for the development of harmonized carbon trading models that ensure fairness and justice in pricing, allowing our countries to benefit from carbon credits while simultaneously supporting global efforts to reduce emissions. We must also push for increased climate finance, including accessing grants and funds from mechanisms such as the Green Climate Fund to support adaptation and mitigation projects in Africa. A significant focus of the Abidjan meeting was on capacity building. For parliaments to perform their roles effectively, we need to be equipped with the knowledge, tools, and expertise necessary to understand the complexity of climate science and policy. And this is why partnership with institutions like the Africa Union Development Agency, NEPAD, and AGNES are invaluable. They can provide the technical support needed to strengthen the capacity of parliamentarians and technical staff to oversee climate action, track progress, and ensure accountability. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage your office and the office of the clerk that perhaps Parliament needs to have a trained negotiator on climate matters, because Parliament is very much involved in climate legislation, and it is high time we partnered with AGNES to build the capacity of our clerks on climate negotiation. Mr. Speaker, the declaration in Abidjan emphasized the role of multi-stakeholder engagement. Climate action requires the involvement of all sectors of society, including the scientific community, civil society, private sector, and most importantly, local communities. MPs must serve as a bridge between the people and the government, ensuring that climate policies reflect the needs and aspirations of the people, particularly those in vulnerable communities who are most affected by climate change. Mr. Speaker, here in Nairobi, scientists, negotiators, researchers, and civil society are gathered under the banner of AGNES to develop a position pre-COP29. And Mr. Speaker, as I said earlier, we were also very pleased to see our president lead the African heads of state in New York in his capacity as a chair of the relevant committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, as we look ahead to COP29 in Azerbaijan, Baku, and other upcoming international negotiations, the Abidjan Declaration provides a clear message that Africa must be bold and assertive in advocating for its climate priorities. One of the key messages to the Africa Ministerial Conference on Environment for COP29 is a call for an ambitious new goal on climate finance, with at least $1.5 trillion in annual public finance for adaptation and mitigation. This is essential if African countries are to build climate resilience and address the growing impacts of climate change on food security, health, and livelihoods. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, sir, parliaments are at the heart of climate action in Africa. The Abidjan Declaration is a clarion call for us to take up our roles with the seriousness that they deserve. As Kenyan MPs, we must work together to ensure that our laws, policies, and budgets are aligned with our climate commitments and that we are playing an active role in the global effort to combat climate change. The future of our continent and our planet depends on the actions we take today. Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, allow me to thank the chair of the substantive committee that deals with climate change, Senator Maythew. Allow me to also thank the members of the caucus that I lead, which works very closely with the specific departmental committee, for their support. Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, I would table the Abidjan Declaration which was a declaration that was signed by 30 members of parliament drawn from all the 3 regions of Africa. The only region that was not represented was North Africa, Mr. Speaker, and we do hope that as we go along, we will carry our brothers from North Africa to build one strong network of parliamentarians on climate change. Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, I beg to table the Abidjan Declaration for your further direction and action by the relevant committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You may proceed to table. Next order. Statements pursuant to Standing Order 53-1, the Honorable Senator Tabitha Keroch.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise. Sorry. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the status of compensations for the victims of the Mai Mahiu floods tragedy. In the statement, the committee should explain to the Senate why there is discrimination in the compensation for victims of the Mai Mahiu floods tragedy and investigate allegations that the victims are being divided along the lines of those who had rented houses and those who owned houses, yet all of them were affected by the same magnitude of tragedy, where all of them lost their loved ones, property, and businesses. Explain reasons for the inordinate delay in the replacement of personal documents such as the birth certificates, academic documents, identification documents, and KRA pins belonging to the flood victims, which were recorded by Huduma Center officials who had set a temporary office on site and state for timelines within which the said documents will be availed to ensure they are not denied access to government and banking services as well as jobs opportunities as it is today. Explain why the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government through the state government for special departments, special programs has failed to keep the promise to the fully Explain why the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government through the State Department for Special Programs has failed to keep the promise to fully compensate and resettle the flood victims, especially after the 3 months rent paid by government elapsed. State when the team of experts promised by the government will visit the site to evaluate whether the areas is now risk-free and safe for human habitation, and make recommendations for alternative land for the settlement of the victims. Explain why the Nakuru County government has done nothing to help the Mai Mahiu flood victims, despite having a huge budget of 902 million in the financial year 2023-2024, allocated to county executive member in charge of public service management, coordination, and training, a docket responsible for handling disasters in Nakuru County. And explain why the county government has the audacity to spend 446.24 million on extravagance and foreign trips, for the Maimahio victims, who are only 130 members, requires, according to Her Excellency's estimate, 1.2 per household, and these members are only 130. That equals to 234 million. Provide a report on the donations contributed by well-wishers across Kenya that was collected by the Nakuru County government officials, the Nakuru County Commissioner's Officer, and area MP's office on behalf of the Maimahio flood victims. Signed by Senator Tabitha Keroche, Nakuru Senator. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Bone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 53-1 to seek a medical to seek a statement, not medical, to seek a statement. I'm sorry. That is how doctors are wired. Mr. Speaker, to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding the medical negligence at Vihiga County Referral Hospital. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, I would like the committee should outline the medical safety procedures implemented before, during, and after surgical procedures at this hospital. 2, clarify the circumstances that led to a surgical seizure being left in the abdomen of Mrs. Definitely Hueji Salago during her abdominal surgery at Vihiga County Referral Hospital. 3, disclose the names of the members of the medical team led by the surgeon that performed the fetal surgery on Mrs. Defena Lihuechi Salago, disclosing any disciplinary actions taken against them for the gross medical negligence. 4, provide information regarding the psychological and financial support and possibly compensation offered to the family of the late following the incidents. 5, state measures put in place by the Vihiga County Referral Hospital to prevent the recurrence of such a regrettable incidences. And Mr. Speaker, as I end, I want to offer my condolences to the late and an apology on behalf of the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Board, because this is not our standard. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Catherine Muma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to request a statement from the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights regarding the urgent and concerning issue of the criminalization and re-victimization of survivors of female genital mutilation, including minors. Mr. Speaker, the statement of the committee should, 1, appraise the Senate on the veracity of allegations regarding the criminalization and re-victimization of victims of female genital mutilation in Bomet and Narok counties, among others. In so doing, the committee should confirm to the Senate, 1, the number of victims, survivors of female genital mutilation, including minors, that have been prosecuted for the alleged offenses of procuring FGM, aiding and abetting FGM, and failure to report FGM under the Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation Act. B, how many of the accused victims and survivors of female genital mutilation have been subjected to the inhumane and degrading treatment of forced genital examination to procure prosecution evidence against them. C, the number of victims or survivors of female genital mutilation, including minors, that have been convicted so far of the offenses indicated in this statement, and whether they had access to legal representation during their trials. D, the number of victims, survivors of female genital mutilation convicted and sentenced under this law and the nature of sentences meted against them. Number 2, could the committee invite the cabinet secretaries for the ministries of Interior, National Administration, and Government Coordination, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, the Attorney General, the Inspector General, the Director of Public Prosecutions, the National Gender and Equality Commission, and the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, including the National Syndemic Diseases Control Council, to discuss a proactive policy response to this concerning issue. Finally, could the committee organize a meeting with the Chief Justice of Kenya, the National Council for Administration of Justice, and other justice sector stakeholders to come up with the most appropriate policy in response to this concerning issue? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Faki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing on the imminent eviction of civil servants from the Hobley Road Estate near Mombasa Municipal Stadium in Mombasa County. Mr. Speaker, sir, the civil servants are due to be evicted from 1st of October 2024, ostensibly to pave way for the construction of a new housing estate in the affordable housing plan. And since we are alive to what happened to Buxton, where to date the former tenants have not been resettled despite a resolution of this house, I will not wish to see them suffer similar fate. Besides national examinations that are due to start in October 2024, and the impending evictions and relocations could interfere with the performance of the students who are currently preparing for their final exams. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the statement, the committee should confirm, number 1, whether the civil servants facing eviction from the Hobley Road Estate have been provided with alternative accommodation to where they can relocate. Number 2, state if they will be considered for payment of disturbance allowance to facilitate their relocation from their present residence to their new residences. And number 3, disclose the person or company that was awarded the tender for the construction of the said houses, and whether the current tenants will be given first priority to occupy the units once the construction is completed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Wakoli. Those two statements are dropped. Senator Osotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations concerning the implementation of the County Aggregation and Industrial Parks project across the counties. Mr. Speaker, sir, the national government, through the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industries, in partnership with the county governments, private sector partners, development partners, and the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, entered into partnership to establish a county aggregation and industrial park in each county, aimed at boosting the manufacturing sector's contribution to GDP from the current 7% to 15% by 2027 and 20% by 2030. The project will be implemented in 3 phases covering all counties and is financed equally by the national and county governments, each contributing Kenya shillings 250 million. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is also noted that the Senate approved the County Government Additional Allocation Acts for the financial years 2023-2024 and 2024-2025, designating funds specifically in this project. In the statement, the committee should, 1, table a report on the current progress of construction of these industrial parks in all the 47 counties, specifying the timelines for completion and operationalization of the parks. 2, state the amount of funds that have so far been disbursed by the national government for each county government for construction of these parks, vis-a-vis total funds allocated to each county, and give details of any other source of funding for the project, giving a detailed breakdown per county of the money spent towards the implementation of the project. 3, clarify the basis for the partnership between the national and county governments in the implementation of this project, including any agreements between the 2 levels of government as per Article 187 of the Constitution. 4, state whether all the counties have acquired land of equal acreage for the project, and state the measures to ensure the land is protected from any potential risk of public land grabbing. 5, furnish the Senate with the relevant project documentation such as feasibility studies, procurement plans, bills of quantities, tender documents, and state measures for ensuring maximum accountability and timely auditing of financial records of the project by the Office of the Auditor General. And 6, and last, outline the challenges hindering project implementation, noting that no county has implemented the project, and detail the measures the government has put in place to expedite its realization across all the 47 counties. Signed by Senator Godfrey Osozi, MP and Deputy Party Leader, the Orange Democratic Movement.
Senator Cherarke.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Request for statement on reduction of tea bonuses in certain regions in Kenya, such as Nandi, Kericho, Bomet, Nyamira, Kisii, Trans Nzoia, Bomet, among others. Madam Speaker, I raise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries regarding the reduction of tea bonuses in the regions I have mentioned across the country. Madam Speaker, in the statement, the committee should, 1, explain the criteria used to determine tea bonuses, amounts per kilogram to be paid to farmers by tea factories in Kenya, outlining any measures put in place to ensure transparency in the process and fairness to all other regions across Kenya. Madam Speaker, number 2, provide a schedule indicating tea bonuses, amounts per kilogram paid to farmers by tea factories in Kenya, explaining disparities in the amounts paid by the different factories across the country. Madam Speaker, number 3, explain why tea bonuses, amounts per kilogram in certain regions have reduced significantly from approximately 60 shillings last year as low as 19 shillings to 25 in Nandi County and the regions I have said, and in other regions it's high up to 60 shillings in other regions. Madam Speaker, number 4, state why the Tea Board of Kenya, TBK, and the Kenya Tea Development Agency, KTDA, have failed to prescribe a minimum tea bonus amount per kilogram to protect tea farmers from exploitation across the country. Madam Speaker, and finally, clarify whether the government of Kenya is adequately prepared to supply the subsidized fertilizer ahead of the impending short rains between September, October, and November to support tea farmers and other farmers who have already been impacted by low tea bonuses from across the region of Nandi, Kericho, Bomet, Nyamira, Kisii, Trans Nzoia, and Bungoma, among others. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Gloria.
Speaker, this is my request for a statement on the provision of conducive lactating rooms for breastfeeding mothers. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare regarding the provision of conducive and easily accessible lactating rooms for breastfeeding mothers in workplaces in Kenya. In the statement, the committee should state whether offices in the public service and other workplaces have allocated conducive lactating rooms in proximity to work stations to enable breastfeeding mothers to attend to their duties, and 2, outline any actions the Ministry of Public Service and Human Capital Development has put in place to ensure that all breastfeeding mothers are provided with a conducive work environment as provided for in Section 71, 1 and 2 of the Health Act 2017. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Senators, we will now open up for senators to comment on the statements. Apologies. I think we move on to the next set statements pursuant to Standing Order 56-1 and Chairperson Standing Committee on Finance and Budget.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56-1A of the Standing Orders of the Senate to make a statement on the realization of Article 204 of the Constitution and the status of Equalization Fund. Madam Speaker, as you are aware, the Equalization Fund is established under Article 204(1) of the Constitution, which requires that 0.5% of all the revenue collected by the national government each year be paid into the fund. The amount is calculated based on the most recent audited accounts of revenue received and approved by the National Assembly. The primary object of the fund is to provide basic services including water, roads, health facilities, and electricity to the marginalized areas to the extent necessary to bring the quality of those services in those areas to a level generally enjoyed by the rest of the nation, so far as possible. Madam Speaker, while this fund is established under Article 204(1) of the Constitution, its premise can be found in the principles that underpin public finance and in particular Article 201(b) of the Constitution, which provides that the public finance system shall promote an equitable society, and in particular, expenditure shall promote the equitable development of the country, including by making special provision for marginalized groups and areas. Indeed, the Equalization Fund is one of the 4 funds established by the Constitution. This speaks to the central role of the fund which was intended to play in ensuring that no person is left behind in the building of the nation, whose values include equity, social justice, and protection of the marginalized. Madam Speaker, sadly, this inspiration to equity in development remains as elusive now as it was before the coming into force of the Constitution 2010. The Equalization Fund has faced numerous implementation challenges since inception, which have hindered effective operationalization of the fund. One of these delays was occasioned by the inordinate delay in the approval of the regulation for the administration of Equalization Fund. Whereas the fund started receiving statutory allocation from financial year 2011-2012, the first Equalization Fund Appropriation Act was enacted 6 years later, the financial year 2017-2018. This is attributed to the delays in the approval of the guidelines for the administration of the fund, which were appropriated in 2016. However, Madam Speaker, in 2019, these guidelines were nullified by the High Court in a petition number 272 of 2016, which led to further delay in the operationalization of the fund. It is notable that the regulations it is notable to note that the regulations currently in place were approved in 2021, 10 years after the inception of the fund. Madam Speaker, the fund faced further litigation in 2023 when conservatory orders were issued by the High Court of Kenya at Garissa, restraining the Commission of Revenue Allocation from implementing the second marginalization policy. This is due to concerns being raised on lack of public participation and naming of some beneficiary wards in Wajir County. This matter was eventually settled. Madam Speaker, another contributing factor to the operationalization of this fund has been the delay in the implementation of policies on marginalization. Due to the inordinate delay in approval of the regulation for the administration of the fund, the implementation of the policies has also been delayed. The first policy of marginalization, which was introduced in 2013, was implemented by Equalization Fund Appropriation Act of Financial Year 2017-2018. The policy was financed from the entitlement and allocation to the Equalization Fund for financial year 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2016-2017. Notably, the policy lapsed in 2016-2017, but implementation of the projects is ongoing. Latest statistics indicate that as of 31st May 2023, a total of 359 projects under the first policy were financed by Equalization Fund and were at different stages of implementation. Out of these, 243 projects are 100% complete. Madam Speaker, the second policy on marginalization came into force in 2018, and the projects therein were to be funded from the funds of financial year 2011-2012, 2012-2013, 2013-2014, 2017-2018, 2018-2019, and 2019-2020, as well as 2020-2021. The Equalization Fund Appropriation Act of 2023 and the allocation of Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill number 2 of 2023 for financial year 2023-2024 will be utilized to implement the second marginalization policy. Madam Speaker, despite the lapse of the second policy in June 2021, the status of implementation of these projects under the policy remains unclear. Madam Speaker, two policies running concurrently beyond the implementation timelines complicates oversight of the fund in addition to delaying returns on investment. Of even greater concern is that the third policy on marginalization is yet to be submitted to Parliament. Madam Speaker, the legislative and policy delays that I have conversed have led to an accumulation of arrears to the fund totaling to 33,597,717,433. In financial year 2011-2012, 2012-2013, and 2013-2014, the fund had no allocation since the first policy on marginalization on marginalized areas hadn't been developed by CRA. Further, financial year 2017-2018 to 2020-2021, there were no allocations to the fund due to nullification of the guidelines. However, since the fund resumed operation in 2021, the National Treasury has shown blatant disregard for the timely implementation of the fund's project and has failed to conclusively address the issue of accumulation of arrears. Madam Speaker, I note with concern that the National Treasury, in a letter to the Senate dated 19th of May 2023, committed to allocate 9.9 billion for 4 consecutive financial years from financial year 2024-2025 through to financial year 2027-2028 as payment of arrears. However, in the 2024-2025 budget, the National Treasury reneged on this commitment and allocated 3.5 billion only as equalization fund arrears. It is disappointing to note that these arrears have since been removed from the supplementary estimate 1 for financial year 2024-2025, and the current proposed allocation of the fund stands at 8 billion. Indeed, even the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill 2023, currently before the House, has faced similar fate with a reduction of about 790 million shillings from the 2.5 allocated as partial allocation for the arrears. There is simply no commitment towards conclusively addressing the issue of accumulation of arrears from the National Treasury. Madam Speaker, similarly, in the financial year 2022-2023, an amount of 10.3 billion appropriated to do an Equalization Fund Appropriation Act of 2023 was revised to zero, which is a complete illegality, at the time of approval of supplementary budget 2 for financial year 2023-2024. This is despite the enactment of Equalization Fund Appropriation Act of 2023 on 30th of June 2023. To address this anomaly, the National Treasury committed to allocate 10.3 billion in the financial year 2023-2024 supplementary budget. However, despite the consideration and approval of 2 supplementary budgets in the financial year, the allocation of 10.3 in line with the existing act was never even a consideration for National Treasury. This is not only disappointing, but also an illegality to have an act in place without corresponding allocation. To this extent, Madam Speaker, therefore, the arrears to the fund are higher than what is reported, and it currently stands at 43.928 billion. Madam Speaker, the difficulties that this fund has faced are alarming in and of itself when considered within the context of the sunset clause under Article 2046 of the Constitution. They become disastrous, simply put. Under Article 2046 of the Constitution, the fund has a lifespan of 20 years. This means that presently, and barring an extension under Article 2047, the fund has only 6 years to accomplish its objective with arrears of 43 billion shilling. Taking into account the constitutional provision that Parliament may enact legislation to extend the lifespan of the fund, in October 2023, this Senate passed an Equalization Fund Administration Bill, Senate Bill number 14 of 2023, which seeks to repeal and replace the PFM Equalization Fund Administration Regulation 2021, and also to extend the lifespan of the fund for a further non-renewable term of 10 years from the date upon which the fund would have lapsed. However, since the Senate passed the bill on the 10th of October 2023, it has stagnated in the National Assembly, and there is no clear indication of when the National Assembly will finalize on it. Madam Speaker, this brief overview I have given here today on the operationalization of Equalization Fund is therefore an elegy of promise unfulfilled. The Constitution of Kenya 2010 represented a new dawn for the country and held within its provisions the means to correct injustices resulting out of systemic underdevelopment in various parts of the country. The Equalization Fund was indeed to be the first step towards ensuring that the development is inclusive and equitable. This statement, therefore, is a rallying clarion call to both houses of Parliament and the National Treasury to recommit to the constitutional values of inclusive development and the protection of marginalized communities, and prioritize the passage and implementation of laws and policies for the implementation of this fund. Signed by Senator Ali Ibrahim Roba, the chairperson, Standing Committee on Finance and Budget, and the party leader of UDM. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Statements pursuant to Standing Order 56 1B. The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Information, Communication and Technology.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)B of the Senate Standing Orders to make a statement relating to the activity of the Standing Committee on Information, Communication and Technology for the period commencing April to August 2024. During the period under review, the committee held a total of 20 sittings, during which it considered 7 statements and 2 inquiries. The committee also held 1 private sector and development partner stakeholders engagement and networking retreat from 14th to 17th June 2024. Attached to this statement is a schedule of legislative business considered by the committee. Madam Speaker, in the reporting period, the committee considered the statement sought by Senator Hamida Kibwana, MP, on the sale of Telcom Kenya to Infrastructure Corporation Africa and resolved to include it as part of ongoing inquiry. The committee also considered the statement sought by Senator Samson Cherargei, MP, regarding the financial status and operations of the Postal Corporation of Kenya, which the committee has made significant progress on the statement. The committee sought additional clarifications through supplementary questions to comprehensively conclude the matter. Madam Speaker, the committee is currently concluding the following 2 inquiries: inquiring into the critical telecommunication infrastructure in the country. The committee has met other stakeholders and is scheduled to meet the Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury and Economic Planning, the Competition Authority of Kenya, and the Kenya Revenue Authority. And inquiry number 2 is inquiry into the operations of IFMIS and other county revenue collection and management systems. The committee had received submissions and a report of the multi-agency task force on integrated county revenue management system from the Council of Governors. The committee is scheduled to meet the National Treasury and the Kenyan Revenue Authority. Honorable Speaker, the committee regrets the delays in concluding the statements and inquiries under its consideration, which has been occasioned by the frequent requests for postponement of meetings by the Executive, the Council of Governors, and other key stakeholders. Honorable Speaker, the committee held a private sector and development partner stakeholders engagement and networking retreat from the 14th to 17th June 2024. During the retreat, the committee engaged with key players from the ICT private sector, the telecommunications industry, and development partners to gain insights into sector-specific policy directions, identify legislative gaps, and determine priority areas for the 13th Parliament. Madam Speaker, in the next session, the committee will continue exploring measures to advocate for the reduction of import taxes on SIM cards and the zero rating of SIM card manufacturing materials to support local production, with the ultimate goal of providing free SIM cards for all citizens. Additionally, the committee will focus on reviewing the progress of the digitization of government services across all ministries and agencies to enhance efficiency and accessibility. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I wish to thank your office and that of the Clerk of the Senate for the continuous support accorded to the committee in undertaking its work. Lastly, I also wish to thank the members of the committee for their commitment and diligence and contributions during the committee activities. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56 1B of the Senate standing orders to make a statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights for the period April to August 2024. During the period under reference, the committee held 31 sittings at which it considered various legislative proposals, bills, statements, petitions, inquiries, and held stakeholder engagements as set out here in below. Madam Speaker, under A, pre-publication scrutiny, the committee conducted pre-publication scrutiny of one legislative proposal, namely the Draft Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2024, sponsored by the Honorable Senator Samson Cherargei, MP. The committee approved the proposal, which has since been published as a bill. Under bills, Madam Speaker, the committee considered a total of 12 bills during the reporting period. Of these, the committee concluded the consideration of and tabled reports on 5 bills, while consideration of the remaining 7 bills is ongoing. We project to finalize on these and to table the reports thereon in the coming month. Madam Speaker, under statements, the committee considered 3 statements during the reporting period and held meetings with the respective senators and the invited stakeholders. Where the responses were not satisfactory, Madam Speaker, the committee has re-invited the stakeholders to appear before the committee in the coming month. Under petitions, Madam Speaker, the committee considered 4 petitions during the reporting period, and following consultations, one of the petitions has since been redirected to the Standing Committee on Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations. The committee is projected to conclude on the remaining 3 petitions within the next 2 weeks. Madam Speaker, under sessional paper / policies, the committee considered 1 sessional paper during the reporting period, namely the Kenya policy on public participation. We are at the tail end of this and will be tabling our report in the Senate during the month of October. Madam Speaker, under inquiries, the committee, following a statement sought by Senator Catherine Muma, that is the Speaker, the committee commenced an inquiry into the status of indigenous people in Kenya. This is an ongoing, and the committee is scheduled to table a high-level meeting with the key stakeholder and non-state actors in the coming month, following which the committee shall table a report in the matter in the floor of the House. The detailed status, Madam Speaker, of the legislative business considered by the committee during the reporting period is attached as an annex to this particular report, and as highlighted, there is 1 legislative proposal. There are 14 bills, that is the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2023, Senate Bills number 15 of 2023, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 52 of 2023, which, Madam Speaker, was withdrawn by Senator Raphael Chimera on Tuesday. The House of Parliament Bicameral Relations Bill 2023, National Assembly Bills number 44 of 2023. This one was discussed earlier on this morning and subject to be concluded. The Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 5 of 2023. The Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 10 of 2024. The County Civic Education Bill 2024. The Law of Succession Amendment Bill 2023. Senate Bills number 20 of 2023. The Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2024. Senate Bills number 17 of 2024. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Amendment Bill 2024, National Assembly Bill number 10 of 2024, which has since been enacted into law. The County Government Elections Law Amendment Bill 2024, Senate Bills number 2 of 2024, among several others, Madam Speaker, which include Political Parties Amendment Bill, Election Offences Amendment Bill, and the Election Amendment Bill, as well as County Government State Officers Removal from Office Procedure Bill 2024. The statements, Madam Speaker, as sought are by Senator Mohamed Chute on the status of courts construction projects in Kenya, statement by Senator Tabitha Mutinda on the assault of a female passenger by a matatu conductor along Thika Road. Statement by Senator Edwin Sifuna on the predicament of Master Austin Karanja, a minor with hearing impairment who was mauled by school dogs on 28th of October 2023 at Isinya School for the Deaf. In petitions, petition by Christine Joki Mweru and Kupuo Network Awareness, as well as petition by Tribal the Impact CBO, and petition by Juan Laban Omusundi. Madam Speaker, in inquiries, we've got committee inquiry on the status of indigenous people in Kenya, tabled by yourself before the committee, as well as sessional paper number 3 of 2023 on the Kenya policy on public participation. Madam Speaker, during the remainder of the third session of this sitting, the committee has prioritized the conclusion of legislative business before the committee, as well as the actualization of the recommendations for amendment to the Constitution as contained in the report of the National Dialogue Committee, NADCO, and the Multisectoral Working Group on the implementation of the 2/3 gender principle, which is something that we did earlier on today in our committee session. And as I conclude, Madam Speaker, I wish to thank the Office of the Speaker and the Clerk of the Senate for the steadfast support that they have accorded to this particular committee, as well as the members of the committee for their utmost dedication and commitment to duty. Madam Speaker, I thank you. Signed, Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei, Chairperson, Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs, and Human Rights Committee. I thank you.
The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 56(1)B of the Senate Standing Orders to make a statement relating to the activities of the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare for the period between April to August 2024. Madam Speaker, during the period under review, the committee held a total of 41 sittings, during which it considered 4 legislative proposals, 48 statements, 4 bills, and 2 petitions, and followed up on 1 Senate resolution. The committee undertook 1 county oversight and networking engagement on the welfare of workers in the export processing zones in Mombasa and Kilifi counties. The committee also held a stakeholder engagement with the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports on various issues under its mandate. Attached to this statement is a schedule of the businesses considered by the committee. On statement, Honorable Speaker, in the reporting period, 27 statements were ongoing from the previous reporting period, and 16 statements were sought from the committee. The committee considered and concluded 10 of them and is currently considering the remaining ones. Madam Speaker, the committee conducted an inquiry on the statement by Senator Mohamed Faki, CBS, on the welfare of workers in the export processing zones in Mombasa and Kilifi counties, and will table its report in the House this week. While conducting the inquiry, the committee held a meeting with the Principal Secretary, Investment Promotion and the EPZ Authority, and also visited selected EPZs in Mombasa and Kilifi counties. The committee will follow up on the recommendations, which include the establishment of an export processing zones wages council in line with Section 43 of the Labour Institutions Act, Cap 234, to take care of the special categories of workers and the review and publication of a wages order that is specific to export processing zone workers. Madam Speaker, the committee considered a statement by Senator Christo Asige, MP, on the registration of teachers by KUSNET, where the committee found that visually impaired teachers had been enlisted as members of the Kenya Union of Special Needs Teachers without their consent. KUSNET was therefore deducting agency fees from the visually impaired teachers forcefully, claiming that the teachers had benefited from KUSNET CBA with the Teacher Service Commission. KUSNET was, however, not able to show which benefit had been accorded to the teachers as a result of the negotiations, and the committee therefore resolved to sponsor the amendment to Section 49 of the Labor Relations Act on the agency fee. The committee will meet with the Cabinet Secretary, Labor and Social Protection on the consideration of the revocation of the Gazette notice that gave powers to KUSNET and Kenya Women Teachers Association, KEWOTA, to deduct agency fees as it has been subject to abuse. Madam Speaker, for the remainder of the session, the committee will focus on the following thematic areas under its mandate: human resource matters in the counties, pension payment of terminal dues and limited statutory deductions from the former councillors, Kenya Railways Corporation Limited, former Kenya Cooperative Creameries Limited workers, county government workers and other institutions, management and development of sports talent in the counties, management of football in the country, and labor relations. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank your office and the office of the Clerk of the Senate for the continuous support accorded to the committee in its work in executing its mandate. Lastly, I wish to thank the members of the committee for their diligence and contributions during the committee activities. I thank you.
Statement pursuant to Standing Order 57-1. Senator Sigei for Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The statement by the Senate Majority Leader on the business of the Senate for the week commencing Tuesday, 1st October 2024, pursuant to Standing Order 57-1. Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 57-1, I hereby present the business of the Senate for the week commencing Tuesday, 1st of October 2024, on behalf of the Majority Leader. With respect to the business of the Senate, the status of legislative business is as follows. A, 60 bills are pending conclusion, of which 41 are at the second reading stage, while 18 are at the committee of the whole stage, and 1 bill is due for first reading, and it is scheduled accordingly in today's order paper. B, 24 motions are pending conclusion. C, 21 petitions are due for reporting by the respective standing committees, and D, 396 statements are pending before the standing committees. The breakdown of petitions pending before standing committees is as follows. Under the Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries, 2 petitions are pending. Devolution and Intergovernmental Relations, 1. Education, 2. Health, 1. Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights, 3. Labor and Social Welfare Committee, 1. Land, Environment and Natural Resources, 7 petitions pending. Road, Transportation and Housing, 3 petitions are pending. And lastly, under the Committee of Trade, Industrialization and Tourism, there is 1 petition pending. I implore upon the aforementioned standing committees to expedite consideration of the petitions and to table the reports as required. Madam Speaker, on Tuesday, 1st of October 2024, the Senate Business Committee will meet to consider the business for the week. The tentative business for that day will include business not concluded from today's order paper, as well as the business indicated in the notice paper appended to the order paper. Madam Speaker, the tentative business for the morning sitting of Wednesday, 2nd of October 2024 will include the schedule of questions to Cabinet Secretaries as approved by the Senate Business Committee, as well as motions. The summary of the questions is as follows. Question 1, question number 021 to the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning by Senator Edwin Sifuna MP. Question number 60 to the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning by Senator Catherine Muma MP. Question 70 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration by Senator James Murango MP. Question 73 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration by Senator James Murango MP. Question 77 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration by Senator Daniel Manso MP. Question 79 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration by Senator John Yutu MP. Question number 84 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration by Senator Agnes Kavindu MP. Question number 88 to the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning by Senator Joyce Korir MP. Question 91 to the Cabinet Secretary for East Africa Community, EAC, the ASALs and Regional Development by Senator Julius Mulgor MP. Question number 92 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration by Senator Kathuri Murungi MP. Question number 93 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration by Senator Professor Tom Ojenda, Senior Counsel MP. And question number 97 to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration by Senator Professor Tom Ojenda, Senior Counsel MP. Madam Speaker, the business for the afternoon sitting of the Wednesday, 2nd of October 2024 will include business not concluded in the order paper for Tuesday, 1st of October 2024, and the following shall be dealt. 1, bills at the second reading stage, the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Control Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 1 of 2024, the County Government's Election Laws Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 2 of 2024, the County Oversight and Accountability Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2024, the County Civic Education Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2024, the County Statistics Bill, Senate Bills number 5 of 2024, the Provision of Sanitary Towels Bill, Senate Bills number 7 of 2024, and lastly, Madam Speaker, the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 10 of 2024. Under motions, Madam Speaker, first is the report of the County Public Investments and Special Funds on its consideration of the audit reports of various water service companies for the financial years 2018, 2019, 2019-2020 and 2020-2021. Report of the Standing Committee on Energy on its inquiry into the LPG explosion in Mradi area, Embakasi, Nairobi City County, development of a policy and law for social risk management in infrastructure development projects in Kenya, and lastly, consolidation of bursary funds for equitable access to education in Kenya. Those are 4 motions that will be enlisted on 2nd of October 2024. Madam Speaker, the projected business for Thursday, 3rd of October 2024 will include business not concluded in the order papers for Tuesday, 1st of October, Wednesday, 2nd of October, and any other business scheduled by the Senate Business Committee. Madam Speaker, from the foregoing and as witnessed in the order paper for today, pending business before the Senate is quite high. I therefore urge all senators with business scheduled in the order paper to be in the House to prosecute the same. I also urge the majority and the minority leader or party whips to ensure that the necessary county delegations are in the chamber for the divisions. I thank you and hereby lay the statement on the table of the Senate. Signed, the majority leader, Senator Aaron Cheriot, MP. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I'll now give some 30 minutes for Honorable Senators to comment on the statements, and we will limit the comments to only 3 minutes in order to give opportunity to as many to comment on it. Senator Osoti.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to comment on a statement by the Senator of Kakamega, Boni Halwale, on the matter of medical negligence at Vihiga County Referral Hospital. Madam Speaker, this particular hospital is located within my county, and the matter in question, that is medical negligence, is not a new matter, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you remember I brought a statement in this House regarding similar incidences of medical negligence at the hospital and other matters touching on the general management of the hospital. And the Committee of Health took its time. They went to Vihiga, that particular institution. They spent the whole day there They came and interrogated the governor and made a report. Madam Speaker, I am concerned that that report, the county government of Vihiga has not started to implement significant aspects of that report. The only thing that I've seen that they are trying hard to do is completion of the hospital, the so-called Doctors Plaza. But the other serious management issues, including cases of medical negligence, are largely untouched. Madam Speaker, this particular lady who has died as a result of medical negligence, Madam Difina Likuyachi Salago, comes from Kakamega County. But there are others who have gone through this kind of incident, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to call upon the Committee of Health to go back to Vihiga County, that particular hospital, because that particular hospital is increasingly becoming a crime scene, where corruption thrives, negligence, poor management of the hospital facility. I think substantive action needs to be taken by this House, because I've already reported this matter to this House. We have done a report. Why is the report not being implemented? So the hospital management for this particular institution should be held accountable, because it is very bad, Madam Speaker, for surgical scissors to be left in one's body. What kind of a doctor is that, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, we had a case where an old lady went through a dental operation, and she has been paralyzed. She comes from a village called Vialo there near Chavakali. She has been paralyzed all this, and the county government of Vihiga is doing nothing about this. Madam Speaker, I think it's a...
Quickly wind up, please. Quickly wind up.
So, Madam Speaker, the Committee of Health has done a good job to visit our hospitals, but they have given reports which they are not following up. It's a high time that Senator Mandago's committee, and it's good he was a former governor, should also follow up on the recommendation of the reports they have given, so that we ensure that there is no repeat of cases like negligence, which are common in Vihiga Referral Hospital. Madam Speaker, I support, and I wish that the committee does more than what they have done on a matter of this nature. I support.
Senator Joyce Korir. Senator Korir.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm sorry, I was busy responding to an urgent issue. And Madam Speaker, allow me to really touch on some few statements that has been raised by the members, and allow me to start with the Honorable Gloria's statement, which was touching on, which was trying to urge the employers to make sure that they set up station for breastfeeding, Madam Speaker, which I want to say that it's an issue that needs to be addressed, because you remember, Honorable Speaker, that this is one of the issues that was raised by one of the members from the National Assembly, and they went, and I think the institution went ahead to make sure that it was one of the rooms, that is lactating rooms or the nursing rooms, was established in the National Assembly, which I want to say that the issue is also now affecting the Senate, and the statement is trying to make sure that this room is established, because breastfeeding, Madam Speaker, is an important, is important because it enables the baby to grow, and even enable the baby to be healthy and away from diseases, not only the baby, but even the mother. So I think this one I will really support. And there is also a statement that you raised, Madam Speaker, on the issues of GVVs. I want to say that I know we are not having the CS in charge of gender, but I want to say that within the same ministry, there is a lot of problems that we are facing in the villages, especially in Bomet County, being one of them, which is being affected by genital mutilation, which I want to say that I really support the aspect of urging the officers or the relevant committee to move to the ground and really give us the details of what they are doing and what is happening, because I know this is something that is going to affect us in around 2 months to come, because they normally practice these things towards the end of the year. Otherwise, I also want to touch on the statement that was raised by Honorable Deputy Majority Leader. I know I'm rushing because of time, on the issue of the compensation of the victims who are washed away by the floods in Mayu Mayu. I want to say that we really support that. I know it might not be equally, but it will depend on the damages that was caused by the floods. So I just want to say that I support the statements by the members, and I urge this House to really look into it, or the various committees that we have to look into it, so that at least these people can be assisted, or the things can be done the right way. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Mogeni.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to comment on the statement that was raised by Senator for Nandi, Senator Cherage, touching on low returns, Mr. Speaker, for tea farmers. Mr. Speaker, if you visit counties, Madam Speaker, counties that have tea farmers, including Nyamira, Kericho, Bomet, farmers are crying, including Nandi, Madam Speaker. My farmers in Nyamira, Kebirigo Tea Factory, Nyansiongo Tea Factory, where I'm also a farmer, I'm a farmer in those two factories, farmers are earning 24 shillings for bonus, Madam Speaker. Others, in some regions, are at 60 shillings. Don't our farmers also live in Kenya, Madam Speaker? The tea that is exported in Mombasa, Madam Speaker, is supposed to benefit everybody, Mr. Speaker. We cannot be smelling others are having meat on the other side when our farmers are crying, Madam Speaker. In Nyamira already, Madam Speaker, there are farmers who are facing auction. Madam Speaker, we cannot allow this to happen, Madam Speaker. We were in this House when the majority leader brought a law on tea reforms, and we supported, Madam Speaker. The expectation, Madam Speaker, was that our farmers were going to have money in their pockets, Madam Speaker. Now what we have is hue and cry, Madam Speaker. How can you pay a farmer 24 shillings when the cost of production has gone up? In my county, Madam Speaker, we are paying tea plucker worker 13 shillings. Then there is fertilizer, okay? Then you are also tilling the farm, and you have to pay someone to do it. Then you give 24 shillings. Why are we killing tea farmers, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker? And the highest foreign earner for this country is tea. The returns on export of tea has gone up. My statistics tells me that in 2023, the earning was 674 million USD billion. This year, it is 795 USD. So our expectation, Madam Speaker, was that the bonus for the farmer was going to go up, not to go down. So I want to plead with those in the management of tea, our directors, KTDA, the guys in Mombasa, I don't know whether to call them cartels, call the IATA, to make sure, Madam Speaker, that we have good, 1 minute I sum up. Madam Speaker, to make sure that we have good returns for the over 600,000 tea farmers in this country. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Cheptuma.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to comment on the statement by the Senator of Nakuru. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, compensation for victims of national disaster in this country is a big challenge, either arising from landslides or floods. There has been a big challenge. Madam Speaker, when these floods or landslides takes place, people lose their lives, their livestock or their property destroyed, government response, and immediately after that, Madam Speaker, it is forgotten. That is why in Naivasha, those victims have already been forgotten, not being compensated. It's unfortunate, Madam Speaker. In Baringo last month, we had landslides in 2 places, a place called Sirwa in Mogoti constituency, and a place called Chebokel in Kasisit area and Kapkombe. Madam Speaker, and what government does is they move quickly to help the families with some food, with some shelter, and so on. But there is no comprehensive, comprehensive program, or now they can, Madam Speaker, be assisted. Madam Speaker, I want to appeal to our colleagues here. There is a law before the House on national disaster, which is being processed by my committee. Madam Speaker, why we have this challenge is because there is no clear law, there is no clear policy, there is no clear direction as to how these entire matters of natural disaster can be managed. So, Madam Speaker, it is important that as a House, we take our position so that then, Madam Speaker, we are able to compensate those victims. And especially, Madam Speaker, where the government has made declarations, clear statements that we are going to either build houses for these people, provide food, and so on. These are Kenyan people, Madam Speaker, who we need to really come up with a law which is going to help the country. Not only in Baringo and Nakuru, it's almost everywhere, Madam Speaker. So I really support the statement by the Senator Nakuru, and I want to say as they do that also, they consider the people of Sirwa in Mokoto constituency and Kasisit in Baringo North constituency in Baringo County.
Senator Manzo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to comment on the statement by the Senator for Nakuru, and want to say that when the last extraordinary rains happened, there were chaos in many parts of the country, Tana River, Makueni, and now even the case in Nakuru, whereby these water amassed due to the construction of the railway, and eventually, having been blocked by something then eased off and went and killed a lot of people. Despite all that, Madam Speaker, the disaster management was chaotic, and even up to now, you can see the county government, which has an allocation of monies, has not resettled these people and have not taken care of them, and their interests have not been taken care of. Madam Speaker, there's been a problem of coordinating for disaster management between the counties and the national government. Even when a disaster happens here in Nairobi, I remember in the same time, there is a child who got lost in Kibra slums, went into the river, was not seen. They came here, they went to the television stations, they got a little help from the county government, and up to now that child has never been seen so that he can be rested in peace in Western Kenya. And the government seemed to have given up in that particular recovery mission. Similarly, it happened in Makueni. Some 7 ladies were washed, 4 were found, 3 have never been found to date, and their families still wait for the national government and to do something, because they are definitely now have gone beyond Makueni count, having been washed by the rivers. Madam Speaker, this is a serious matter. When disaster strikes, I think we need proper disaster preparedness. Although there is a law which has come, we need there is already an administrative mechanism. There are already budgets, including, in the national budget, that we have a lot of money allocated for emergency and disaster. But when it comes to use of this money, Madam Speaker, it seems that it's never serving the people, and we need to find out where the government is going wrong when it comes to disaster management, rescuing people, preparedness, prevention. Madam Speaker, prevention, even with a fire strategy. The tragedy in Kieni, in Nyeri, there should be a way, Madam Speaker, that all schools should be safe, all public places should be safe in case of fire, and in case even will be struck by terrorists, we really need to have a strategy. And Madam Speaker, I want to support her and say that the people of Nakuru, the people affected by the floods in Mai Mahiu, should be attended to as quickly as possible so that they can go back to their normal lives, since we have a budget for it, we have monies allocated for it, and it does not be applied on the people by both national government and county government. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Cherarke.
Speaker, thank you. I would just want to make quick observations. One, on the equalization fund. Madam Speaker, it's very disappointing that for us who benefit from equalization fund, more than 43 billion is yet to be released by the National Treasury. It is affecting the operations. For example, in Nandi, we are expecting in 3 wards, Kapchorwa ward, Chemelil, Chemase, Madam Speaker, and Soba Songo. This is very disappointing. We want to call out National Treasury, because in the financial year, they had allocated enough money, but they have now put 3.5 million Kenyan shillings. Madam Speaker, this needs to stop, and I hope and expect the Committee on Finance and Budget to call the CS of National Treasury to appear before this House, Madam Speaker, and tell us what is happening for more than 43 billion Kenyan shillings that is yet to release by National Treasury to counties. Secondly, Madam Speaker, it's good to have the majority leader in the House. I saw in one of the national newspapers that the operations of the Senate has almost stalled because of lack of adequate financing. I have expected in his usual weekly statement, the majority leader, to tell the country whether the Senate is really grinded to the whole, Madam Speaker, and affecting or impeding our committee or plenary operations, and whether we need a Kamkunji or in-house meeting, Madam Speaker, so that we can be able to sort out this issue of non-operational of Senate functionality. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I think your office should also assist us in resolving this issue, because Kenyans imagine that we have closed down for lack of funding. We need this thing to be put to rest and perspective, Madam Speaker, so that it does not have the functionalities and operations of the Senate. Madam Speaker, number 3, on the issue of Labour Committee, I expected them to say something about former councillors. Madam Speaker, you remember in the last session, we did pass the motion, Madam Speaker, on giving honorarium payment or one-off payment, Madam Speaker, to the councillors. That matter was passed at the National Assembly. It was passed by the Senate. It is upon the National Treasury, and I hope the former councillors are listening to me. The matter is no longer with Parliament. The matter is with the National Treasury, and they should convince the National Treasury to release money for ex-councillors, Madam Speaker, which are totaling more than 12,000, Madam Speaker. I'm saying this when we buried the other day Councillor Kosgei, ex-councillor in Sinendet in Nandils. I'm saying this when we are burying Councillor Chumba in Tindred, Madam Speaker, in Taunet, who waited for this money of more than 12,000 councillors. Some are in Migori, some are in Makueni, some are in Homa Bay, some are in Nandi, Madam Speaker. I asked the National Treasury to fast-track releasing money to ex-councillors, because most of them are now sickly, they have children, they depend on a lot of many things, Madam Speaker. Finally, we expect on the elections of Kenya Football Federation, Madam Speaker, Sports Federation, they need to do elections and do cleanup among our sports federations across the country, so that the young men and women can have a clean sport. And I'm challenging Labour Committee, Madam Speaker, to ensure they tell us when the elections of Football Federation of Kenya shall happen, so that our young men and women can get the necessary support from the systems that continue in this factor. Madam Speaker, on ICT, where I'm a member and Senator Ogola are, I expected the ICT chair to say something about regulations on social media. I thank you, Madam Speaker, on that opportunity.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Madam Speaker, I wanted to quickly comment on 2 statements. One by Senator Faki of Mombasa on the issue of evictions vis-a-vis compensation, Madam Speaker. I think, Madam Speaker, if you read Article 40 of the Constitution on protection of right to property, Madam Speaker, what this article of the law requires at time of eviction has not been met by proper legal framework to be able to ensure that our people who are giving way for developmental projects by the government are actually properly compensated, Madam Speaker. And I think that is high time this Senate comes up with a way of reviewing all our eviction laws to make sure that people who are going to be evicted in places to give way to projects by national government, Madam Speaker, and even sometimes county governments must be adequately compensated. Madam Speaker, I am facing this same challenge in Migori County, in a place called Nyatike, where the National Irrigation Authority has purported to be able to implement the Lower Kuja irrigation scheme, to be particular in a place called Sagama, Madam Speaker. Since 2012, Madam Speaker, the people of Nyatike, who gave their land for whale leaves, Madam Speaker, have not been compensated. It's an issue that we have raised a number of times to the President. We have raised it to different authorities, Madam Speaker, and sometimes you get that when you approach near National Irrigation Authority, Madam Speaker, they don't follow the law that will allow for proper compensation of the people in Sagama, Madam Speaker, to the extent that even widows whose husbands have left with land, Madam Speaker, their lands have been taken and put on these whale leaves, Madam Speaker, without compensation. And I hope that we can be able to come as a house with a solution that ensures that people who have got whale leaves in places like Sagama are compensated. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I also wanted to quickly comment on the issue of KIPES, Madam Speaker. The issue of KIPES forms a big part of the conversation on DORA, Madam Speaker, because the 18 counties that were already been earmarked to be given the 4.5 billion by the national government, Madam Speaker, were only given about 62 million, including the Migori County, Madam Speaker, which I think that the money in Migori County.
Now, this, you need to give chance to others. Okay, finish. Just wind up.
Yeah, so I'm saying, Madam Speaker, that people like Migori County were given about only 62 million out of expected 250 million, Madam Speaker. My request is that as a House, we must stand with the 400 billion that we passed in the previous DORA, so that the issue of KIPES, which have got contractors that have already been committed in counties like Migori County, the 18 counties that have been given money, must be given those monies to complete those projects and ensure that there is no physical problems for them. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Mondege.
Asante Bi Speaker kwa kunipa ruhusa niweze kuchangia mambo ya hospitali na hii ujumbe wa Senator Karware. Yangu ni kumuunga mkono wale watu, kamati itaenda kuangalia mambo ya hospitali, sio mambo ya Vihiga peke yake ama kaunti zile zingine. Hiyo shinda iko katika kaunti zote 47 na haswa kaunti ya Embu imekuwa na shinda hapa na pale, na tukiangalia tukifanya upelelezi iende ikawa saa nyingine tunalaumu madaktari ama tunalaumu gavana ama CS wa afya. Tungetaka kuangalia serikali kuu ambaye iko treasury vile inapeana pesa katika masinani, kwa sababu pia kuna mambo ingine ya wale watu wanaangalia zile dawa zimeharibika. Kama Embu County tunakumbuka miezi 2 iliyopita kulikuwa na shinda ya hapa na pale kwa zile dawa zilikuwa zimeharibika, ambacho zilikuwa zimeharibika kutoka mwaka wa 2013 na mpaka mwaka wa 2021. Ikawa kwa sababu mpaka ndio siweze kutemwa, mpaka ingeenda kufanywa upelelezi sionekane ndio sipitishwe. Ningeomba serikali kuu ambaye upande wa treasury, hiyo vitu kama hizo sikionekana siende siweze kuwekwa kwa moto kwa sababu zimeharibika. Ndio pia wale watu wanaangalia mambo ya hesabu ya mandawa, ndio kaunti zetu siweze kusimamisha vizuri. Ndio wakati watu wanasikia hakuna ndawa, watu wanajua hakuna ndawa, kwa sababu kumekuwa na vita. Watu wanasema kuna ndawa na hakuna ndawa, na zile ndawa ni mbaya. Kwa hiyo ningeomba pia treasury iweze kuangalia kaunti ziko namna gani, kwa sababu imekuwa na shinda kaunti zote. Unakuta gavana anasema hakuna pesa, watu wanataka ndawa, hospitali zote ziko na shinda. Kwa hiyo mimi ningeunga mkono pia treasury iangalie vizuri ndio iweze kupeleka pesa mapema, kwa sababu tunajua kama mwaka huu mwezi wa 7, mwezi wa 8, miezi 3 kaunti zetu Bi Speaker asinjapata hela ya kununua mandawa, asinjapata hela ya kufanya kazi zile zingine. Kwa hiyo tunakuwa magavana wako na shinda, si wa afya wako na shinda, na pia wananchi wanalia. Kwa hiyo ningeomba wale watu wataenda kufanya upelelezi, hata wakienda kwa county kuangalia mambo ya county, waanzie kwa treasury, wanjue pesa inaenda namna gani kule mashinani, kwa sababu tuko hapa kutetea ukatuzi. Kwa hiyo nikiwa senator wa Embu County naunga mkono, kwa sababu kama Embu tuko na sub county ine na iko na shinda na hela ya kununua dawa. Kwa hiyo ningeomba serikali kuu treasury ipeane pesa Embu County ndio hospitali zote siweze kupata mandawa. Ni mimi senator wa Embu County. Asante Bi Speaker.
Senator Beatrice Ogola.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the statement by the Nandi Senator, Senator Cherangai, on his concern on the reduction of T-bonus in some tree-going areas. Madam Speaker, it is not very good that our farmers, once they plan with some money, income that they expect, this should be reduced. Madam Speaker, you know when bonuses are paid, Madam Speaker, it has a ripple effect in our communities. There are farmers who have planned for their children to go to school and pay their education fee. There are farmers, Madam Speaker, who benefit in so many ways. It really empowers the farmers in those areas. Madam Speaker, I compare this with the sugar growing zone that we have in Dewa sub-county. In Dewa sub-county, Madam Speaker, we have only two industries, the sukari industry and the boda industry. So, Madam Speaker, when the sukari industry can't pay our farmers, as you walk in the vicinity, you can notice that our people are suffering, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, around sukari industry in Dewa, there is a fear now, Madam Speaker, that our sugarcane is not being paid for, and basically because the sukari industry is keeping most of the sugarcane that has been crushed. Madam Speaker, the fear is that there are people who have imported a lot of sugar in this country, and so our local sugar is not selling. And Madam Speaker, that is why I support this. Madam Speaker, over the labor report, Madam Speaker, I had hoped that there would be a mention of the outcry in the public sector in this country as we speak. Madam Speaker, yesterday, the Cabinet Secretary of Public Service was here, and I raised a question of what is the input of the ministry as an overseer of the public sector on the ongoing public sector challenges that ranges from the health sector. We have the intern doctors challenge that is not going away, Madam Speaker. We have the issue of the lecturers on the street, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, if this cannot be sorted out by this government, then it means that even the education of our children are getting is wanting, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I expect in future that the Labor Committee should be very keen on the labor challenges that are facing the public sector. Madam Speaker, yesterday I was talking about if not a doctor is committing suicide like we had the other day, then we have teachers committing suicide, then we have police officers killing their spouses and killing themselves. And Madam Speaker, that is not good for our country. So Madam Speaker, really the reduction of T-bonuses is not right. The farmers needed to have gotten this as was expected, just as in other sectors. Madam Speaker, I support.
Senator Professor Ogenda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to weigh in on the county aggregation and industrial parks KIPES project across the counties, which project, Madam Speaker, is under the Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, and which is a partnership between the county governments and the national governments, and therein you also find the private sector and other organizations. Madam Speaker, the statement made by Senator Sotsi points to a framework that will see county governments construct industrial parks to tap in expertise in various areas, Madam Speaker, and also to prepare counties for industrial takeoff. Madam Speaker, this is important because of the unemployment situation that we have in this country involving our youth. These industrial parks will not only tap the skills that we have within the various industries, but is intended to see this counties grow skills and attract skills, and that will, Madam Speaker, enable many counties to take off and create service industries specific to the needs of every county. Madam Speaker, I'm aware that in most counties, including my county, Kisumu County, the national government has contributed 250 million shillings toward the construction of industrial parks, and another 250 million contributed by these counties. Madam Speaker, what is important is that when constructing these industrial parks, the national government and the county governments must have need and ensure that, one, feasibility studies are properly conducted to know what kind of skills will be tapped for every county. We need to have proper procurement plans, bills of quantities, and a proper framework that will ensure, Madam Speaker, that every contractor is sourced within the confines of the Public Procurement Act and regulations, and to ensure that there's accountability in the utilization of the 250 million shillings and the additional 250, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I support this statement because this country, and specifically the 47 counties, must industrialize for the benefit of our youth, because we need to tap skills, we need to grow the Juakali sector, and that is what we see as an enabler to economic growth in this country. Madam Speaker, I support.
Next order.
Order number 8, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment number 2 Bill, Senate Bills number 46 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Constitution of Kenya.
Next order. Honorable members, we will defer the order number 9, order number 10, number 11, all the way to order number 16. So can we move to order number 17?
Order number 17, the Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 53 of 2023, second reading.
Senator Manzo, you had 8 minutes balance on this discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in my last minute, and I really want to congratulate Senator Mariam for what she has done to try to do. But I also wanted to bring to our attention that there is a Cooperatives Bill 2024, which is now also being debated in the National Assembly. And this is much older bill because it was first there in 2021. This time round it is published by Honorable Ichungwa, and those days it had been published by the then leader of majority. And it lapsed, because the parliament came to an end. And therefore, when I look at the two bills, I believe the Honorable Ichungwa and the Honorable Mariam should have a word, so that one bill enriches the other, so that all what Mariam is proposing should be carried on board, because it is equivalent, as important as all that the National Assembly is proposing. Otherwise, with all the confusion already existing in the cooperative movement, then we further this confusion by having one law from National Assembly and another law from Senate, then they crisscross each other, Debate is going on there now, and this one is going on here. They crisscross each other. And from my experience, a lot of bills from the Senate died in the National Assembly. In fact, there had been a similar amendment, similar to Mariam, by Professor Nzani, who was a nominated senator. So when it passed on very well here and was passed by Senate, it came to National Assembly and it was delayed. I don't know whether it was intentionally or not, because there was a very big argument between this Eshungwa bill, which is a government, the Ministry of Cooperatives bill, and the one for Professor Nzani, which had a lot of issues with the public participation. And the movement claimed that it had not been consulted properly. So I hope we're not going to end up in the same. And therefore, Professor Nzani's bill was delayed, while the then Kimunya bill was being hurried. And therefore, the National Assembly then was very biased on the bill from the Senate. And I think the leadership of the House, the leadership of the two houses should really set into this so that we don't waste the House's time. When we have bills, we can actually deal with very simply and get things moving, you know, within the country and serve the people. The cooperative movement is a very, very important movement. It has 15 million people. These 15 million people are waiting for better services from a better law, you know, whereby the government will manage cooperatives in this country profitably, whereby the stealing in cooperatives will be reduced, whereby the movement will help Kenyans thrive. The SACCOs, which have another law, which no one is also looking for amendments, command, you know, a very huge percentage of savings in Kenya. And in fact, some SACCOs like Arambe are actually bigger than banks. We have the Cooperative Bank, we have the CIC, insurance. All these are huge enterprises working with cooperatives. But when the law is confused as it is now, two houses try to amend one law, try to achieve one purpose, and they cannot sit down and amalgamate or synchronize so that it serves the country better. It's really upsetting. And I want to say that this movement, cooperative movement, is also international. When you go to Canada, you find Quorum. In Kenya, we have Cusco. In America, there are very strong SACCOs, SACCO societies, so strong that they are bigger than the savings in America in some of the credit unions. The credit unions of the United States of America are bigger than banks, and they have really been instrumental into building of the economy of America. So the cooperative movement is very important. We have all these matatu SACCOs awaiting serious changes of the law. We have businesses which need to be managed better. We have coffee farmers in cooperative societies. We have rice farmers in cooperative societies. Tea farmers, we have a lot of problem with the tea right now in the country. And we need solutions, especially where the farmers are organized in cooperatives. So I'm really pleading with Mariam, but I believe you will reply today. And after you reply, probably now a question will be put. We'll go to third reading. I believe during third reading then, you should have a meeting with the Honorable Uchungwa so that we can put our heads together and make sure that Kenyans are served and served better by a better law, bearing in mind that cooperatives are very, very important part of our integral system. I want to inform the House, Madam Speaker, lastly, that when I was a cooperative secretary, quite a number of farmers from Mandera, all those rivers there, used to come to my office, bringing certain issues about the farming cooperatives there. And I really want the government to fund or to support all cooperatives in every part of the country so that all of us can be served equally by the law and can have an equal opportunity, so that there are a lot of grants which come with cooperatives from World Council of Credit Union, WOCU, from International Cooperative Alliance, and they really also mentor smaller growing cooperatives. They did some cooperatives in Busia. Therefore, cooperatives all over the country should be served the same and served equally by law so that our country can prosper and our people can have better lives. That will not happen without proper cooperative law and without a better way of managing our cooperative societies through legislation which is consistent, which is synchronized, and which is working for the people of Kenya. I thank you, Madam Speaker. I will support once the amalgamation takes place and once the two laws are corrected, because I've realized from Senator Mariam's law, there is a lot to enrich Honorable Ichungwa's law and the ministry's law. If the two can sit together, this country will be much better. But I want really to appreciate the Honorable Mariam for fitting into this gap and coming at a time Kenyans need us most to make a law so important as the cooperatives law. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
There's no more requests, so I now call on the mover to reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I appreciate senators who has contributed. There are almost 6 members of Senate who contributed. And Madam Speaker, cooperative society is where the economic sector of Kenya lies. Madam Speaker, when I came up with this bill, I realized there's a scam in this sector. And I realized also the bill is outdated, which is the last bill is the Act, Cooperative Society Act number 12 of 1997. So it needs amendments. So I decided to align with the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Madam Speaker, the purpose of the bill is to amend the Cooperative Society Act 12, 1997, so as to align with the Constitution of 2010 by setting the function of the county governments and county government and national government in relation to the governance of the cooperative society. Madam Speaker, when I publish this bill, that is 29th of August 2023, by then, the ministry has not even dreamed to have a bill. Madam Speaker, 12th section, Senate, last session of Senate, the bill came, but it elapsed because of time. Because of time, the bill cannot go through. So I decided now to take time to come up with the bill so that at least this scam of a cooperative society cannot, people cannot take advantage of our livestock society, our agricultural sectors, and our saving. Somebody cannot become a criminal part of scamming an individual. Madam Speaker, with all those remarks, pursuant to Standing Order 663, I request that putting the question to be deferred to the later date. Thank you.
It is so deferred. Next order, please.
Order number 18, motion, report of the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations on a petition to the Senate by Mr. Samuel Espar on behalf of the residents of Turkana County concerning the state of insecurity in Turkana County.
Senator Cheptuma.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House adopts the report of the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense, and Foreign Relations on the report on a petition by Mr. Samuel Asepa concerning the state of insecurity in Turkana County, pursuant to Standing Order 238-2 of the Senate Standing Orders. Madam Speaker, I wish to give the House a brief background. As you are aware, Madam Speaker, Parliament enacted the Petition to Parliament Procedure Act number 12 of 2012 to make provision for the procedure for the exercise of the right of a petitioner of a right to petition to Parliament as provided in Article 199, Sub-Article 1 of the Constitution. Further, Part 27 of the Senate Standing Orders also makes provision on how this right may be exercised. The petition was presented to the Senate by Senator James Lumenen, MP, Senator for Turkana County, on behalf of the residents of Turkana, and the petitioner, Samuel Esapa, following